Giri Nora Jiji Yuan, Mitene Janda Tawa, Tembo Doji, Peso, 마전한 기타다님 비생기 탐지지 된도 도자라나메 반한다가 저게 산지지 공부하는 게 이제 더버샤고 대더버샤위 케도 담배 줘를 뭐 제세냐 비코노 산지지 셈지 세세베고는 셈브리요.
Let us cultivate the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of liberating infinite, kind, mother sentient beings. With that kind of bodhicitta motivation, that we should all participate in this teaching.
No. Tangaran so any rantang yin tendo nyema ba de hiji de batangel tone ta sanji kombato ten yeglo robas.
I believe that we are all seeking complete enlightened state as our ultimate spiritual goal, and to get there, if you will, or to internalize the enlightened state, what we must do is we must free our mind of two types of mental obscuration. One is simply called delusions or deluded states of mind, and the other is called obscuration to omniscient wisdom. So by getting rid of these two mental obscurations, that we are able to become fully enlightened beings or Buddhas. So it is rather difficult, generally speaking, for us to find a complete enlightened state within one lifetime. It may even take 2 or 3 lifetimes. So what we really need to keep in our mind is that to reach complete enlightened state, we may take several lifetimes to get there, and which means it is very important for us to create necessary causes and conditions to find what is called fully endowed human form, precious human life in our future lives, so that we will be able to carry on with our spiritual development and actualize complete enlightened state.
That sanji compound drupe ten the shingina ten tan doari to nanita me ten the church.
there are 6 types of sentient beings, or 6 types of what we call migrators in samsara or cyclic existence. So among these 6, precious human life is the best kind of life foundation or the basis for spiritual accomplishment.
No, that means that ne mi lutin nani that mi lutin la ne chudube ne lutin ta mi lutin bi shabe res ta chudube lutin togore to ba shabala tawa jetan jobe ge cham mi lutin singi ta togo res.
So when we use the term fully endowed human form or precious human life, in Tibetan we call Gyeltsen, life with leisures, if you will. But that we really trying to do is we're trying to differentiate between a human life and precious human life. Okay, so it's not just enough to be reborn as a human being. We could, be born as a human being with no, interest or whatsoever or facilities to cultivate spirituality. Okay, we may not have any freedoms, perhaps, to do that. Whereas when we say fully endowed human form or precious human life or life with leisures, Gyeltsen in Tibetan, what we mean to say is that it's the kind of human life that is characterized by 8 freedoms or leisures and 10 enriching factors or 10 endowments. So basically it's a human life with 18 wonderful qualities which enable us to pursue spiritual development.
That can be the thing Chabati Toba Shabala Ani, Trinabata Vigizum, Karin Trinabata Vigizum says the Penandre, and Megitubungo Trinia was Songo. Don't by game making on Megitubungo Trinia was song. The Tolata Rajung in a Tabrazum Pomokandiji in it, and Domba Yabusung. At this, ne Trinabata Vigizum that. So in order to find a precious human life or fully endowed human form, human life characterized by 8 freedoms and 10 enriching factors, we need to create necessary causes and conditions for that. And at the very foundation level, so to speak, what we really must do is we must observe pure ethics or pure morality, pure shila in Sanskrit. So what does pure ethics mean? Of course, if we have not taken any monastic ordination or any higher level ethics, so basically all of us need to abide by the pure ethics of abandoning 10 negative actions of body, speech and mind. We often talk about the 10 negativities of body, speech and mind, and we must not do them. Okay, that is as basic as it gets in terms of pure ethics. But now, in addition to that, if one has taken monastic ordination as a monk or nun, well then, you have many more, categories of ethics, if you like, you need to observe purely. So the basic foundation for finding a fully endowed human form is that we must abide by this pure ethics. Oh no. The children so at K Chambucheres. Karin Sena and in Sonsum Yawa that Tundru. Tundru Shewa Languia Tunzoni Tagati Maris. Kurajo children must be changing again and never say, singing again and never say. Say about the dig what the Kiwalas of that nation, Kualas of the nation, see again and never say. Never shaving debut, they think in the Son Chavres.
Why do we attach so much importance to observing pure ethical disciplines, if you will, shila or morality? This is because when we look at how sentient beings are reborn in the unfortunate states of rebirth, in the hell, in the hungry ghost world, in the lesser kind of animal world, it's just practically because they have not observed what we call pure ethics. They have indulged in in the negativities of all kinds, such as killing or taking somebody's life, or torturing others, lying to others, stealing things belong to others, and beating others, and you just name it. So when we engage in such negative actions, then these negative actions will precipitate our rebirths in the bad migration. So if we don't want to go there, okay, to stop being reborn in the bad situations, so it is essential for us to observe pure ethics, which enables us not to do any negative actions.
That is a mind. I mean, draw me anything. Toby in me thing Toby in draw me thing like that. Doing not opportunity to us. And a social that Karasakam living over the may with doing that the day any does draw Dubak and the day with doing that doing a such of a night and nanny, night with doing it, guy with doing it, and then me thing like that. And they shake Shigana doing it to Mambochi in the was, then to Tamalo. Round the trim number they must be changing and they doing it so much.
If we don't observe pure ethics, not only that, we may find ourselves in bad states of rebirth in the future, but even as a human being in this human world, all kinds of problems that we encounter in our life, and basically our life is also characterized by suffering, such as, you just name it, the kind of suffering that's related with birth, suffering of sicknesses, we fall sick, or the suffering of aging, or suffering of death, the suffering of not being able to find what we really want, the suffering of being separated from the dear and near ones, that we love like anything. And so all these kind of problems and suffering that we encounter in our life are basically, results of not abiding by or observing pure ethics.
That's in some Maranso, Munde, doing Kandaki, sitting the gun is showing in there. The Samalo, Rang mustn't be changing, showing somebody in the house.
So we need to understand that all things that go wrong in our life, wrong in the sense problems and suffering and all kinds of headaches we go through, these are the results of not observing ethics purely.
So that Pena Gomoludu Goma Regiton and Sooners. Go in any the pompous. Yange nor good, nor Yange Dadzum, nor Kubatan, or Trobatan, Tana Yiki, Lohitan was of the day change any, send the Hanla Perala, and then the wing over condition, and take Gala condition, good Yote, Mathay that the change Shumers.
Great Indian master Arya Nagarjuna, in his precious garland, Ratna Avali, states, as Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, that as a result of stealing things which belong to others, destroying others' property, or ripping others of their things, as a result of such negativities, we may experience poverty in our life. And so poverty, or being really destitute and poor, is a result of negativities like that, stealing others' things and destroying others' property and so on.
So I kept in Rebutal around set Tomatin. So Nami Teva than Yawal and Yongu in there, and a Jundian Davis, tell any, Yen so Cabina, send the pay around 20 prisons over Yana, certain Bodage Mavatan. I keep the day that Tanzo any rangan, showing Hamala, and the saw that Nami the Yawal Mini, David Jundian David Members.
As a result of killing, that is taking someone's life, of course its ripening negative outcome or the result is to be reborn in hell, where we go through the hellish experiences. But even when we get out of that hellish state and let's say for some good karma, we are reborn as a human being, we may experience the negative impact of killing on the human life, such that we may be very successful in making money or whatever due to some other karmas, but we may not live long to enjoy it. So we will just die young, just being rich or whatever. When we talk about negativity brings different kinds of results or outcomes. There is what we call ripening result of negativity. In the case of killing, we could be reborn in hell. But then is something called result corresponding to its past experience, which basically means we cut short somebody's lifespan. So it seems very fair that in this life we live, short life. So that corresponds to what we did in the past life. No.
Ko in that nor that thank you invest.
No.
But ye that nor go in that tell and pay Namish David, because Namish that Junji David and Rang at the Dalon Shi Pombat in the Yunguri. That Tanganayiga. The Tanganayiga, when the Yen does on human the 7 shows to be data kiss, 10 the drum boy at the John Hamal Rank and me and that. Me Yen and that. And then
as a result of indulging in adultery, of course, what we see in this life now is that we create many enemies for ourselves. So that in the next life, we may not be able to have what we call the proper kind of relationship that as a negative impact of adultery. Let's take the case of lying and cheating. That its ripening negative result would be again reborn in one of the bad rebirths, especially the hell. But once we get out of that, even as a human being, due to some good karma, that's our understanding in the footnote. Even as a human being, now in this life, we may find that I'm always speaking the truth. Why don't people trust me? Why do people find difficulty accepting my words? I'm always telling the truth. Well, maybe it has less to do with what we do now, but this is the negative impact of lying through teeth in the past life. And that now people don't trust, even if we are speaking the truth.
And
then as a result of entertaining angry thoughts in the past lives, that in this life we find it very difficult to, find difficult for people to like us, be our friend. It seems like everybody is becoming our enemy. It seems like everybody just hates us, got a problem with us. And of course, as a result of anger, which is impatience, that we may be reborn, as very unattractive in a person. Somehow, just because of who we are, it repulses people. They don't like us.
Doctor can we missing that and taking Nasa Mambuchi Yungundu was. The look at it, make Yendala, that Shawan Hamala, Dumba, the dick waters, that condition, if so much in that, don't the Kuin Kursi. I don't the name on say, but that they got them that Jundigan David's child.
And as a result of, torturing others in the past lives, beating them, abusing them, and so on, of course, their ripening results will be in the bad migrations, but the results corresponding to the past actions, which is a mouthful to say in the translation, would be, even as a human being, we are reborn as a human being, we have tremendous health issues and problems that we get the kind of sicknesses, even the best doctors in the world are baffled and they don't know what to do with us. There's no medication, they couldn't diagnose it, and it's just, that kind of sickness we experience in life.
That tende kandi socio rantola tsendigin zakala rang pe tenju le ngabatene majena yin majena ya ane rang tende yungundo na ta sha ngama ke rang le ngaba sapi na mitin yebasi ngoche ba shaguris.
The point I'm trying to make here is that we may not be doing any of these negativities, or we are very mindful of our actions and we don't do such negativities. But we could be experiencing some of the results that I just laid out in this lifetime. And then we are wondering, I'm just trying to be a really nice person, but what is all this happening in my life? Then we got to kind of acknowledge it, that these are some kind of impact of the negativities that I did in my past life, and that's what I'm now facing in this life.
So one of
the ways, the kind of a mindset that we adopt to deal with such problems in our life is we say that, okay, now I accept this as an impact of negativities I did in my past lifetimes, and by experiencing this result, then I will be purified of my bad karma, so I don't have to face it anymore. Okay, so that's the good news about going through the bad outcomes. And so we also cultivate the sense of wish that if someone were to hurt me, I'm not going to return harm to that person, but instead I will wish all the best to happen to that person. I develop the altruism, then may I be able to bring something goodness even to the people who hurt me or harm me.
That I didn't do so. That yen and the lojong and the candle was. Then I don't send the Mendeba in Mambo Huji. Yungu or Rasta Penna, same Kibo Meva, the Lu Devo Meva, the same Kibo Meva. That the Jawa, Tawa, and the Mata. Penna Loki and Dawa King and Dawa King and Tan Dunton, Napuni, Tan, that and they really so do some tambina. Around Devo the Chivo Yanka to sit down. Around and David doing the same but in the pajama and the child in the pay and he showed was.
Yes. So if we look at our own personal life, we go through lots of what we call mental unhappiness, physical discomfort and unhappiness. So out of 12 months, or 52 weeks, or whichever calculation you want to go with, just look at ourselves, how much really happiness do we find? If we are going to weigh on a scale how much happiness we have in a year and how much suffering or bad things we don't want happens, if we put on a scale, there will be a big difference. We have a little bit of happiness that doesn't weigh much, and then the unhappiness is just way up there. So that tells us something.
They do see that means in the days then I war. They might have said and do.
So he said the happiness is so light that it doesn't weigh anything, whereas the suffering part, it weighs the scale down, So that's what Geshe was trying to demonstrate with his glasses box there. So, which is no good.
That the courage is a Yinda Garal never seen the Shomar some Juamaras.
So when we look at that kind of a picture of our life or the situation of our life, of course we may want to blame someone for the things going wrong with our life, but we can't. Others are not really responsible for our experiences.
I think this is me yin and never session. There is something you got that thing you did us. That tea. So I need Ranam Devas Jungo at the rank. So rank zoyas. The servant of the rank of yours. Some me yen the any Dorjee that servant to me as he alta, me yen done young secrets, making Dorjee by young secrets.
So when I say that we cannot blame others for our suffering experiences, right, then we might say, no, wait a minute, and I really remember very well, who did what or said what. I remember such and such day, whatever time, somebody said this or did this to me, right? We do remember things like that. But then what really we have to understand, what really they said or did to us was, not the real cause of our suffering. The real cause of our suffering is what we ourselves did, the bad karmas we ourselves did. So the bad karmas we did are the real seeds of the suffering. And at the most, what the other people did, so they served as a conditioning factors. Right? We saw the seed, they put the water on it, so the seed grew. Okay? So that's why, the things we suffer in our life is the result of our own negative actions. Others may have simply conditioned the ripening of our negative actions.
No. So that thing in the red, that on a wrong condition, serving the wrong condition deserve rest, that's something.
So now we may want to ask the question to ourselves, then how did I create all the seeds, of this suffering?
That thing lojong gunala, lele thangi kill das, run very condition showing that samalo, so said the king is shown those canal.
So as we find this profound statement in the 7-point mind training text or thought transformation text called Lojong, and Geshe quoted the line which basically says, blame everything on this one, okay? So now we really, if we want to blame all the things going wrong in our life on something, there is something that we can blame it on, okay?
That's the correlation. Good, relating to kill, let's say, Rakivan the Bekinzi Sinamandu, dancing Mariba Rangeli, you be dancing Mariba Teta, other Rakivan the Bekinzi, but they keep the Donata, Shumbres, Rang Zebra, seed, Sabin the Zebras.
So if you wonder, how did I create all these seeds, which bring me so much suffering in life, this is the answer, that it's because of our own grasping at self and self-cherishing attitude. They together make a great combo. Okay, that's the combo number one. And so this combo number one, which is the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, is the real source of all the suffering that we experience in our lives. So if you want to blame on somebody or something, no, I shouldn't say somebody, that sounds like a person there, something, then blame on this combo number one, which is the self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping. So let me give you some examples to illustrate my point, and then I think you can apply the same concept to many different situations. So let me use this one example of killing. Okay, how do we, if we do kill, okay, someone, what could be the motivations behind our killing? It could be out of attachment, but we kill, or it could be out of hatred or anger, we could kill, or it could be out of total ignorance that we could kill.
The church one in Sochiata, Chasaya Chedata, singing in the Sochiata. So an example of how attachment could be a motivation for killing others is like, when we love to eat meat, right? So that's our attachment to the meat that we might end up, killing those other animals so that we can eat the meat. Okay, so that is a clear case of how attachment is a motivation behind the killing. So out of attachment for the honey, so we go and destroy the beehives, and maybe we kill a lot of bees. Or that out of attachment to super hygiene, health and hygiene, that we want to keep our house like super hygienic state of environment, that now we buy all kinds of sprays and everything so that we could kill germs and bacteria and all that. See.
So now how could anger or hatred be our motivation? Now this is a clear case of like why we go and kill our enemies, right? We go into war or something, so our motivation is just we hate them, so we kill them. So of course, when we go to the war or the battle, right? Of course, we always go there to win. We don't go there to lose. So we want to win the war or the battle. And then we hate the enemies, and that's how we go and kill them. So if you are so much attached to winning the victory, which is attachment, that is a motivation to go to the battlefield and kill enemies, or we could be hating the enemies like anything and go and kill them. So how the both motivations can come here. So motivations can operate at different levels. Maybe before we begin the war, right, we're really very much attached to winning the thing. We want to win the war or the battle or the conflict, however we're going to term it, right? We are very good in using words. And so that is our motivation. Now when we are in the battlefield, maybe we get so angry and mad. Now another level of motivation comes up. So when we actually kill the enemies, the motivation that is present there, alive, is the hatred and anger. But the motivation that started us off to the battle is the attachment. So in the case of stealing and theft, I think primary motivation is the attachment. So attached to whatever things one would like to get for oneself, so you go and steal things from others. Geshe, I was going to speak English, which is okay with me. So I think our primary motivation in many cases of stealing is, I think, attachment. We are so attached to whatever things that others have that we would like to have for ourselves, so we go and steal them, right? But anger can also be a motivation for stealing. Sometimes the anger works that we hate the people that we don't like, so we just want to steal something from them, so that annoys them like anything, So it could work as, anger could work as a motivation here.
So I think
these motivations can be also seen in the sexual abuse case, right? Maybe oftentimes it is out of the obsessive attachment and lust and all that, but other times it's just purely hatred. You're just indulging in a sexual abuse just because you hate that person, not because you are attached to that person. And also out of attachment for name and fame and making oneself look good, then we may find ourselves lying, and cheating others. Or that we dislike someone so much that we don't want to tell the truth, and so we lie. So all these different motivation mindsets could come into play. So the idea, the point I'm trying to convey here is how different types of motivation can kick in as we indulge in different types of negativities. So now you will be able to understand, how these motivations could be applied to other types of negativities we indulge in or other situations. So my main point here is how all these things boil down to our self-cherishing attitude. When we cherish ourselves like anything, right, then all these other things are related to that as a part of cherishing our selfish interests that we do so many negativities. if we learn to, learn to let go selfishness or self-cherishing attitude, and we learn to cherish other people and other beings. If we care for others, with that kind of a caring state of mind or cherishing attitude for others, we are not going to indulge in all those negativities. So in every possible ways, we need to really try to think and understand how our own self-cherishing attitude is responsible for so many negativities that we do, which bring us all kinds of suffering. So when we engage in that kind of a contemplation or thinking, right, how self-cherishing attitude is the source of many negativities we do, and how those negativities bring us suffering, as we do this kind of analytical thinking, this analytical thinking is also a meditation. It is a form of meditation. The purpose of doing this kind of a reflection or meditation is so that we really are able to convince ourselves that our own self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude are the real culprits, are the real sources of all the problems and suffering in our life. So once we get convinced and we know for sure that these two are the real sources of suffering, it's not enough to know this intellectually. Now we really make efforts to, to diminish them, to get rid of them. When we look at bodhisattvas, that's what they do. They learn to let go self-cherishing attitude or selfishness, and they learn to cherish others more and more. So that is the bodhisattva's way of life. So bodhisattvas are very wise in that they clearly see that self-cherishing attitude is the real source of all the suffering, for themselves and for others. So therefore they want to block out, if you will, or get rid of that source of suffering. So they let go self-cherishing attitude and they cultivate the attitude of cherishing others. And as we talked about this before, if we cultivate altruism, if we cultivate the attitude of cherishing others, this becomes a tremendous source of benefits for self and others. So I think there are a lot of things for us to reflect upon and really do meditation on these things. It's not just enough for us to listen to teachings on these concepts as if that would be sufficient. That will not do enough. We need to go deep into the matters through reflection and meditation. So before I left for the Capitol Hill to attend the gold medal event for His Holiness, I advised you that you should reflect on the things we discussed before I left, right? So I hope you did that. Because we went through a number of what are called key statements, right? one of the key statements was that if we would like to become a Buddha, fully awakened, enlightened being, then we must fulfill the two types of accumulation of merit, positive energy, and accumulation of wisdom or insight. So then what is the real source for fulfilling the two types of accumulation? Then the next statement says we have to cultivate bodhicitta, bodhisattva's attitude. So if we cultivate bodhicitta, altruistic mind of enlightenment, then it is the real source from which comes about the two types of accumulation. But then what are the sources giving rise to bodhicitta? Then we talk about great love, mahametri, and great compassion, mahakaruna. These two attitudes are the real causes giving rise to bodhicitta or altruism. In order to cultivate great love and great compassion, we want to reflect upon the benefits of cultivating these attitudes. For example, if we truly cultivate great love, by the power of love, we cannot be harmed by harmful agents, including humans and non-human beings or negative spirits. If we cultivate, and if we cultivate great compassion, then great compassion is, in a sense, the seat of Mahayana qualities. If we have great compassion, then we will be able to give rise to many other amazing qualities of bodhisattvas or Mahayana, Mahayana practitioners. I think really it connects very well to what we are discussing here. I would like to share a little bit of what His Holiness the Dalai Lama said in his speech accepting the congressional gold medal, and the way he accepted that event, based on what, so I thought that would be really a good thing to know. So His Holiness in his acceptance speech, he said that I don't consider that you are honoring me with the gold medal because me as a person, because I'm a great person of some kind, But I know that you are giving this to me, honoring the good work I have done for the world. Based on love and compassion, I try to promote, the human values, the positive human values, harmony between religious, groups and so forth. So you recognize the good work I have done based upon those principles, and that's why you are giving me the gold medal, not because, I am some kind of a superhuman being,
So Shambata and Senki Gila Shamba Goyata, and Senki Gila Hingi Gombeina, Tendigata, Tanda Lake, some mind with that tattoo, Toji Kimbo told you about the Kanang.
So what we really need to understand in the message, what is, in the message is that if we cultivate love and compassion and these positive attitudes, not only will we have, better life here and now, and benefiting a lot of others, but even in the future lives, we will certainly be able to get more benefits out of cultivating love and compassion and doing good works out of those states of mind.
So passing to Jimbe passing, Tsurinji passing, Zoba Zundu, and something Heritage passing to those two Rekan and the was.
And then in the key statements, we learned about how by cultivating those positive attitudes, we will be able to engage in the actions of what we call 6 perfections. Such as the perfection of generosity, perfection of ethics or morality, perfection of patience, perfection of enthusiastic perseverance, perfection of concentration, and perfection of wisdom.
That social those Shabena, that Jimba Tonga was Jimba Tonga, Jimbe Zawad covered 2 years, and that don't say Chat and Zincha Mevan. Singapore, Zel and Zincha Mevan, that's Jimba Tonga.
So if you are really going to practice generosity or giving, it's called dan, chimba in Tibetan. So how do we practice it? What is really giving in essence, in a nutshell? Giving is more a state of mind. It's the wish to give. Okay? So it is that generous mind wishing to give, which involves letting go attachment to things. Right? If we are attached to things, material things or whatever, then it doesn't work. Okay? So when we let go our attachment and clinging to material things and so on, then the real giving takes place.
That children is our capital is rang children sungu, children sunga teleton, Kachi Karisana, and the troll zambo tankers. When the troll zambo Karina ranke, penna, that troll zambo Kaneki Segresena, penna, number Sanji in the Taz Namashan Chile taking you king. The Kanaki, a name, Muju Jalaman Tebayon King. That the day Karina, the single never machine. Single never machine to goes on with the thing.
So giving or generosity is defined more in terms of a state of mind. It is the really letting go attachment to things, and that's where the giving comes from. And what is practice of ethics or morality? If you say, it is again a state of mind that we would like to, safeguard ourselves from doing negativities. It's the mind to protect. Okay? And so one of the things we talked about last time is how, what would really facilitate our practice of ethics is if we cultivate good friends or companions. Now by good friend, what do we mean? It's like friends who are very supportive of the positive things we do. Like, as a Buddhist, we would say that those who share the same belief systems, we believe in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. We have respect for the Dharma. We have respect for the lives of sentient beings, that we don't go and hurt others, And so people who believe in the same kind of thing and, are supportive of each other, we call the good companions. Should we meet someone, who makes us do or tells us that things which totally undermines our, positive values of spirituality, then that person is not a good friend. Is not a good companion. So from spirituality point of view, right, that's our perspective. Looking from the Dharma point of view, if somebody X and Y, Z tells us to do things which will undermine or even go against the Dharma principles, then that person is not a good friend.
Oh yeah. That's Zebe Congress. Zebe Zawa is the mentioned Zibal to starting when it is. So Zebe mentioned Zini, the Shabi and Ane, Zebe Goil de Laborate.
And a source for cultivating patience or tolerance, shanti, is if you cultivate, a sense of humility or humbleness, right? If we consider ourselves as a very humble person, that mindset will really facilitate the practice of patience or tolerance.
No. That's only Yanide. Is a Pajitun, Zundu, Jitzawa Karitogan, Chawa Gombala Tus. Tatere. Ane lelo de Kari Tonsegana Rantawanzi with Tanzi Wangalelo Yunguyari. Tringuma Sani Chigism, Sani Yuma, that lenders, Shawa Chegi Lelo, Shawa Niji Lelo, Ane Karetaki, Jilu Pilalo, that some assume Lelo Summer. Someone you want to come to years and Tawa Rantawanzi with Tanzi Wangunga, Sonja Chawamatawa Gomaina, that the in Johnny is out the initial. Johnny is out the Chua Gomba 2 rings.
And if we want to practice what is called tsundu, enthusiastic effort or enthusiastic perseverance, tsundu, then we need to reflect on the impermanence, transitory nature of things in life, death and dying. See, when we do that, what happens is that then we do not grasp at the permanence of our life. When we grasp at the permanence of life and things, then we started to feel like as if I'm going to live forever, right? So there's plenty of time. Okay, I can do this tomorrow. So we get lazy, right? Tomorrow comes, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, because there's no end to tomorrow, right? So tomorrow comes, okay, I'll do it next day. So we keep on pushing, procrastinating our practice and good works because there is no end to tomorrow. So we will keep on doing that as if we are going to live forever. That comes from our grasping at permanence of life and things, you know. But if we reflect on the impermanence of life, because there's so much uncertainty, anything could happen anytime, so there may not be tomorrow, actually, you know. So that's how we really become very enthusiastic in our practice and what we need to do now. So that's why in Buddhism we talk about different types of laziness. There's what we call chawachishuji laziness. Chawachishuji lelo, a laziness of procrastination, right? When we say I'll do later or tomorrow, right, that is a form of laziness, you know. Or that we, it's okay, I'm very busy doing so many things. I have so many things on my plate, and then after I get this thing done, then I'm going to do my practice, right? So this is a form of laziness, you know. It may not be eloquent in my translation, but literally it's called the laziness of being attached to frivolous activities. But, you know, so it's like we are so attached to the frivolous things that we need to do 100 things on our plate that we don't have time for the more important one, right? So that is a laziness again. And then the usual kind of laziness, we just don't feel like doing anything, you know, it's just for no reason, I just don't want to do it, you know. So those all types of laziness could kick in and could obstruct our practice. So to counteract that, we need to reflect on impermanence, death and dying, and the boost of our enthusiasm.
And it's just over done that any devil danger. Correction, Millie, Jandy Jet, a million never see it at the next on some Komare. Just any social nanning in that, you wish a day of them. The one is just on the chamber and Herbers danger, which losing your good artist. So I'm going to be David, Nick up and David,
I think there are a lot of temporary benefits we get from truly reflecting on impermanence and creating the awareness of impermanence of life. I think even in a society or a family, if we really cultivate that, you know, awareness of impermanence of life, I think we will live a better life. You know, we will get much better with our family members, you know, and we are not going to spend energy to hurt someone or do things, you know, to others, because really there's no time, you know. And so there's a sense of appreciation, you know, and so then those temporary benefits also come from reflecting on impermanence.
That's something that's our the some things they had a gomje, that same thing, what you say. Same thing, you don't know, Shabala, and same Namto, Lundunzi, that thing about the Lundunzita, same Nato about any something Darita. Just thinking you go that Sunday, when but 10 by enough, no Lundunzi to Wembattery. When but 10 any same Nato Wemba Jane, we will take it to Payani, Tepe, sometimes Tishabatele, any same Nato Wembas. When but need the charge, that's taking with something any when but need the charge. Then dinner gives on the war. Something is our when but 2 so the Wemba said the need that shade.
No. And to cultivate samadhi or concentration, something we need to cultivate is called solitude, wenpa. Okay, and so solitude can be understood in two different ways or on two different levels. what really obstructs us from cultivating single-pointed concentration, number one is when we are in a very busy environment physically, so many distractions, noises and hustle and bustle and hecticness and everything is driving us nuts, right? So in that situation, it's tough to cultivate single-pointed concentration, right? So we need to physically isolate ourselves from all those hecticness, right? So we need to find a peaceful isolation location, okay? But then the real purpose of going into the peaceful location is not a false sleep. Geshe didn't say that, but that is really to cultivate single-pointed concentration, and which really happens when we isolate our mind from busy thoughts, right? We could be sitting in a very peaceful location, but our mind could be going crazy, churning out all those thoughts. Right? So if the mind is very hectic and busy and hustle and bustle, well, then it's not going to work. So we need to isolate our mind from the busyness of the thought, that hectic thinking. So when we isolate ourselves physically from all the noises and distractions, isolate our mind from all the disturbing emotions and thought, then we could cultivate single-pointed concentration.
And
then to cultivate the perfection of wisdom, Gyan Paramita, Sherab in Tibetan, is if we look at the ultimate nature of our mind, right? If we really analyze the ultimate nature, the aspect of our mind, then we will be able to cultivate wisdom.
Rang sen do tachi tawal shabi na ane gidig palan shialata cheba chemboyele.
So also, the wisdom is of different levels, right? Some kind of wisdom is if we simply look at our mind, right? We watch our mind, what is going, on in our mind, then we see all kinds of, those thoughts coming out in our mind, the positive thoughts, the negative thoughts, the crazy thoughts, and all those things, right? So we're looking at all those things, and now we decide that, okay, we are not going to let the crazy and the negative thoughts to pop up. We are going to cultivate only the positive one, right? So looking at the mind helps us to do that. By doing that, we are cultivating certain discriminative awareness of the wisdom, right? To be able to differentiate between what is positive and what is negative that we shouldn't do, right? That's one level of wisdom.
That's Angel Shelab Gugaros, Lame Shelan Jugu, Saji Shelan Jugu, Church Shelan Jugu, Gendi Jugu, Conchos and Shelan Jugu, Shelab Zawa Cardisna, that rank Muvilla Tosta, Meba says that Tabata could give that the nearly two grace, Rang Pen Saji gave a Sanji Peck could give patient Roguya Mare, Senguton, Cage, you the Sengutonere. Senguton Carism is not any Tabata, Tabata could give the Semiton Sengu.
And then it says that how can we receive the blessings? Because we are really fond of receiving blessings from gurus and Buddhas and Dharma and the Sangha and you just name it. So we want blessings and blessings and blessings, more blessings. So how can we really get real blessings is if we cultivate faith and respect in gurus, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and so on. Then we could receive real blessings. But the faith and respect are less to do with the physical postures, but more to do with the state of mind, right? We could be very nicely folding our hands and gesture, look like we're really very dedicated and devoted. But if our mind is not tuned in the right respect, then it's just faking, right? It's just fake. So that doesn't work. So the respect and the faith have, are inner qualities of mind.
Sanjay Lani Tabayata, oh, Sanjay Yaman did Lucinata, Javis Sere. The day is only Maranzo Tensang, Javis and of Tendili, Muranga, Chaji Yavina, they run the Shilam Corporation.
And of course, our perception would have a lot of things to do with the way we cultivate faith. If we think like, oh, yeah, I have read about the Buddha's life story, and he was, born in a royal family, so he was a prince. Okay, so we respect him as a prince. Well, then that is just an ordinary respect or a faith. We just see him as any other prince. We may still find prince and princess in the world. So he's just only that.
Singing the name give here. Oh, that the corner bed and dig my ship shane. That Koran the Mary, Tangan, Mary, give her some to share in. That's shall you with how.
Okay, let me give you the example of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is everything for most of us. He is our true guru. He has many enlightened qualities. But we don't look at him from that perspective. But we see him as he is another human being just like me, a man of peace. Okay, so I respect him. Well, then, it's different. We are not going to get that much a blessing, because that's what we see. He's another human being, a man of peace, So even if we meet with the real Buddha, let's say, we are so lucky to do that, but we consider the real Buddha as any one of the fellow human beings, a good friend, well, we are not going to get Buddha's blessings, But on the other hand, even if someone is not a real Buddha, in reality, if we are going to check the checklist, Buddha, maybe not one, but if we really see that person as a real Buddha, under certain circumstances, we could get the benefits, could get the Buddha's blessings.
Sombashine Jagal Mangundoris. Jagal and Rovi Kurle. Anita Sanji Jondi the Jagal pay or Chestan, Neta Chamber, Tatana, you get Sanji and send of the Lechona, Yawa Kuji, that's Sanji Kurund of the Deta, Sanji Ran Sombaji, Shun, that Chambers and any Amesanguer. Pula and Tachara Jagal Mangundoga, Chesan Altadiki, Trank any Kagashis. Yinda Kake Magutea Kake Magut, and Richona, any Kiraya on those Naltegugas. And then a Puya Yaserta. I just take in Kajmajo. Jebber, talking but there, Jeb, somebody told me, betting give question, non lecanum the chamber. A little soon.
So let me tell you a story how if, oh my goodness, if, strain my nerve here. If somebody has a pure state of mind, one could receive tremendous blessings from the kind of thing that we will never receive blessing from. Here's a story I want to tell you. That once, this is back in Tibet, there was an old mom with a son, and son was a merchant or a business person. Today we would say that. So he would often go to India, for trading and sin. So the mom said, India is where Buddha was born. So she was very devoted and faithful. So she said, if you could bring me a Buddha's relic, whatever it is, something really related to Buddha's body, something, and that's all I ask you. I don't need any other gifts or anything from India. Just that's all I want. So he said, sure, Mom, I'll bring you some Buddha's relic, right? So he goes to India and he forgets. He come back first time, right? He goes again, second time he forgot. So third time he forgot again. Now he's coming back home, okay? Yes.
And then Malay and that non lecalam the type Kayama, so that losing some of the touching men and doing Marisamni, only that inducing any chicken that Rugo Matumavici. The Rugochi, chicken goat that come over. The Rubaki lanes in it, the Tagna Dishi, in Hakesi, Amaleta, Tarik is Jevda, case the Jevd.
So the third time, right, he comes back, and before he really got home, he remembered. Again, he forgot, right, Mom's thing. So then what he found was he found a dead dog, right, and he somehow took out a piece of bone from the dog, right, and he wrapped it very nicely in a scarf, silk scarf, right, and he brought it home. He said, Mom, this time I really got it, the relic for you, okay.
That day, I make a last year, then those Jenny, Chokanalia, Casey, Jashi, Shad, Chabapu, Melatives, Michigan.
So the mom was really, she never questioned it, and she really even probably didn't look at it, right? She just wrapped it as holy as it was presented and put in the altar, and she always prayed and did prostrations and offering, and to the Buddha, she thought that was really Buddha's relic. So she had not even slightest doubt, of it being a fake or a dog bone.
That sounds like you might that chingo telling Setung.
No. So one day, he said, long time ago, then once they opened that silk scroll, it said, then the relics started to come out of that dog bone. You see, there's like a pearly things come out. I know, because you might think like, what is really coming out? There's this pearly stuff, like very lucid, almost like dewdrops would come out. That's a relic, you know.
So
because of that story, Tibetans have a saying that if you have tremendous faith, you know, you might be able to get the relics from a dog bone, you know. And then if you would like to accomplish all kinds of spiritual attainments, we call ngudu, right? It's called in Sanskrit siddhis, ngudu in Tibetan, and sometimes in English we translate it as a boon, you know, whatever that means. So anyway, there are all levels of attainments we could get. There's the common ones and uncommon attainments. So if you would like to have siddhis or all those attainments, then we need to observe our vows and commitments purely. Right? Whatever vows and commitments we pledge to keep intact, we need to do that. Maybe it's okay to talk about this a little bit, which comes out of the Tantra. During the initiations, you know how the Lama would say that if you keep the vows and commitments purely, then the deities will, you know, help you to accomplish attainments. Yes. So as Vajra Master or the Tantric Master would say during the initiations, that if you would like the meditational deities to give you the attainments of the boon, then you got to keep your vows and commitments purely. So that's what we were trying to say. And then in the text, excuse me, I said that if you would like to have these remarkable qualities of spiritual qualities, then we need to engage in listening, contemplation, and meditation. And if you really want to truly benefit others, then we have to take the self-cherishing attitude or selfish motives out of the equation. You know? And if we really want to accomplish benefits for both self and others in ultimate sense, then what we really need to do is meditation and practice. Kom dup. Kom is meditation, dup is to practice. So I thought the things we went through last time, those are the key statements, are really very important for all of us. So I thought it would be nice. I'm sure you took some notes, but I thought it would be nice to recapitulate those statements. So that's what I did today. So if we pay close attention to those key statements, then we started to get answers to our questions, you know, what should I practice, you know, and how to do those practice. And as I always say, when I speak about these things or explain these things, of course, I'm not just kind of talking to you, addressing you, but I put myself in the audience. So I'm also telling myself, as much as I say, this is what we need to do, so you also includes me. So I'm telling myself, this is what I need to do too. Right? So we need to do a lot of reflections and analytical thinking of those matters.
Yeah.
We have, let me see. We have a prayer request for, I hope I say the name right, Saron Santo, who died in an accident in Hawaii. And we have a prayer request for Van, who is dealing with health issues. 2 prayer requests and 1 announcement. Mr. Pema Chinjo will be giving a talk on December 9. That would be Sunday, 1:30.
This is
Yes.
Pema Chinjo, there is that.
Yes. Geshe wants to say a few words about this speaker. Mr. Pema Chinjo, he was what we call cabinet ministers in the Tibetan White House in India.
The current Koran Churchill Amaris. Churchill is the one that is the current Manzu de Churta Poke Reneke Chuso Yinson Jaguars. It's a Mara Photos of Pena Cortes Hinahundus.
And so, of course, he will be speaking not on Dharma. Look, he's not here to give a Dharma talk or a Dharma teaching, which he doesn't do. But he will be here to speak about his personal life experiences, which will be related to Tibetan culture. Because when we look at the name of this center, right, we said this is a center for Tibetan, Buddhism and culture or something. It's related to that. So Geshe feels that our students, because primarily we learn about Dharma, which is the most important for us, but related to that would be, to learn a little more about Tibet and Tibetan culture as well. So as a part of that, this talk is being organized. So, of course, we will not be able to organize this kind of thing, often or too many times, but sometimes, occasionally, if we find, the people who, maybe the generation, older ones who have gone through so much experiences and have rich experiences to share or expertise, so we will be organizing their talks. And also maybe sometimes we might even show some suitable films about Tibet, and Geshe says if you do find time, then please come to these talks and films, because he would like you to know a little more about Tibet and Tibetan culture. But if you don't have time, that's okay. But if you have time but don't kind of ignore it, like, okay, that's not about Dharma, so I'm not going to go, but don't have that attitude. And then that's it. Okay. No.
All right.
So I think that will do for today, and we will continue our teachings next week.
Is the talk going to be here?
Yeah, talk will be here, I think.
Here, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
No.
Oh, yeah. Never mambo to your singing mambo shore, Chesa, Samalo Tangaranzo, Tanzo any big kids hanging on Anita, she was Zambolaniata, and they cheer the tear to the manager. And then I think it under town, and keep the young Tanzania, and they sell Nasali tried to the manager in Ranzo, series like Zumaki, and Yandisho Tangis.
We know that many people are dealing with health issues, right? Although today we just got one name. Many people died, although we have only one name today. It's more like the representatives of many others. So we think about them and send out positive thoughts for their benefits, and we pray to Arya Avalokiteshvara, Chendesik, and recite his name mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, the 6 syllables, and wishing those who have passed away, may they find good rebirths, and wishing those who are dealing with health issues to recover from their sickness well and soon.
No. Shadong Golo Jaboto,
Shalom, give us some Sanja, don't come out on the tell of the Dempo, Temple Series, and our sons, no money,
Ola daterin tara choking around so lake the church is all Latene, Sanji Temper of Bajitaji Unit Nevata. Ne Jawi Unit of Sebe, Tinzi Shape, Tamana, Jokusi Jabe, Temper, Tuji Hindus and Memi Yomata. And they church Dunkin Janish, Gindubana Sebe, Show Pomana, Chuni Shawana is in Dropata. Ane Gitinja come that again, Mintibi Gusota the Hieni, Tinchi Lusota that Memi Yomata.
Let us dedicate our marriage for the flourishing of Dharma, the source of benefits and happiness throughout the universe. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all other great holy beings live long and be successful in fulfilling their visions benefiting sentient beings. May spiritual communities throughout the world and spiritual practitioners from all traditions remain healthy, harmonious, and be successful in fulfilling their spiritual aspirations. May this and other world environments be free of all kinds of unwanted pains and problems, and beings find peace, happiness, prosperity, and spirituality. Last but not least, we dedicate our collective marriage for all kind mother sentient beings to be free from the fears and dangers of two types of mental obscuration, and may we all reach complete enlightened state quickly.
Guru